Hi, and welcome to Mrs. PM Reads, where we are continuing with The Magic Circle by Katherine Neville. And in our last video, trying not to rock the table here. In our last video, Ariel heard some astonishing things from Uncle Lack, and she's like, wait a minute, I don't believe that. And he basically said, it's true, it's all true. So she asked him to continue, and that's where we are. All right. There's a little subtitle, The Sword and the Spear. So this is Uncle Lack continuing to tell his story. Over many centuries, the Austrian Habsburgs had cut and glued together their vast empire through a series of brilliant marriages to women who were heiresses to countries like Spain, Hungary, and so on. Now, a part of the Hofburg, the Habsburg winter place, had been converted to a museum to show to the public the royal jewels, the silver, the many collections accumulated over centuries. The collection, one of the world's most extensive, was of special interest to Lucky. He had said he believed in destiny, and en route to the museum in our carriage, he stressed to us children that the destiny of the German-speaking people should never have included rule by this dynasty of motley intermarriages, spawning the ragtag population we saw around us in the streets of the capital. But that is another story about Adolf, which by now everyone unhappily knows. More to our point, Lucky had discovered within the Hofburg 2 relics that dazzled him, a sword and a spear. These items, which he believed to be so ancient and valuable, were placed, strangely enough, off in a corner in a plain glass case, almost as if abandoned. The sword was long and curved, with a grip that appeared more medieval than ancient. The spear was small, black, and unobtrusive, with a crude brass-colored collar holding together the handle and shaft. We children looked at them for some time until Ernest asked Lucky to tell us their significance. These pieces, Lucky said in an almost dreamlike voice, go back at least 2,000 years and possibly much more. It's a well-known fact that they existed already in the time of Christ and were very likely handled by his own disciples. It's thought the sword was the one carried by St. Peter, who wielded it in the Garden of Gethsemane and cut off the temple guard's ear. Jesus told him to put it away, for they that live by the sword shall die by the sword. But the spear is even more interesting, Lucky went on. It was carried by a Roman centurion, one Gaius Cassius Longinus, who was under the command of Pontius Pilate. Longinus pierced Christ's side on the cross with this very spear to be certain he was dead, and they saw the liquid flow from the wound. I could see Lucky's long, pale face reflected in the glass of the case before us. He still seemed lost in a dream as he gazed upon these weapons. His pupils were dilated, exaggerating the hypnotic quality of those intense blue eyes beneath his thick, dark lashes. But Pandora, who was standing at the opposite side of the case, broke the spell. On the printed card here inside the case, he coolly informed us, it says it's reputed to be this sword once belonged to Attila the Hun, and the spear to Frederick Barbarossa, great figures of Germanic history and of Teutonic myth. And it also says there's a legend that whenever these two weapons have been combined in the hands of a single warrior, as they apparently were by Charlemagne, that same warrior has become the leader of all the civilized world. Is that why the Habsburg rule over so many countries? I asked her, excited by this peek into mysteries and ancient legend. Because they do own both of them right now, don't they? That's a great question. But Lucky, his transparently broken as well, answered for her. It says a warrior must possess them both, he snapped. The so-called Habsburgs are just like their name, a hawk's perch, but not a hawk. They roost wherever they alight, and they feather their nest. They are not hunters, nor leaders of a proud, brave people, and merely possessing two of these objects, as I have learned, is insufficient for the kind of power you speak of. There are many such relics, ancient with the dust of the aeons, and only when all are reunited in one man's hands will the world itself be transformed. I believe that such time is nearly upon us. We children gazed with new respect at the two weapons in their glass case. But I privately wondered how such a profound transformation might take place if all the other ancient treasures were so crumbled, fragile, and unimportant looking as these. If the time is nearly upon us, said a soft voice from behind my shoulder, then surely you must know what these other objects are that you seek. We turned, and I saw that the speaker was Pandora's young cousin, my violin master, Decasian Bazarides, who'd been so silent throughout our entire trip that we'd nearly forgotten him. Lucky nodded his head in excitement. I believe there are 13 in all. Some are serving dishes, some garments, some tools or implements of war, and one gemstone, and a gaming board of sorts, although my studies have told me how much each might have been disguised throughout the ages. The last time I feel certain they were together was at the time of Christ. In other words, at the last new age. That's why I went to pursue my studies at Melk and then at Salzburg, for here on the river and high in the mountains of the Salzkammergut are the places in our land where ancient peoples dwelt. And I knew the message I sought would be found near there. There is information there, written in the runes. The runes? I said uncomfortably. I saw that Laugh had not only paused, but seemed to be drifted off into another world. A manuscript written in runes. I suspect this is the something your cousin Sam left you in his will, said Laugh, returning from the sea of his nightmares and memories. Lucky, or Adolf, was trying to assemble a decipher. And even then, on the eve of World War I in Vienna, a task at which I felt confident he never completely succeeded, but someone else did. I don't think I got that from Sam, I said, though I could hardly reveal that Sam was still alive or that I'd spoken to him of it. But I did get a different document made of runes from a friend of yours, though I haven't had a chance to look at it. Friend of mine, said Laugh. Friend. Wolfgang Hauser, a fellow Viennese. Gavroche, what are you saying? Even in the steam, I could see Laugh's face grow pale beneath his leathery tan. Wolfgang Hauser is no friend of mine. How could he obtain that manuscript? where would he get it? I don't know if my expression revealed exactly how sick I felt, but when he looked at me, Laugh said, "Oh, Gravashi, what have you done?" I prayed the answer wasn't going to be effed it up royally, though it was starting to look that way. Uncle Laugh, I want you to tell me exactly who Wolfgang Hauser is and how you know him, I said, choosing my words carefully, even if I was pretty sure he didn't want to hear the answer. I don't know him, Laugh said. I've met him once or twice. He's a minion of Zoe's, one of those good-looking boys she likes to keep as ornaments on her wrists. I applauded myself for not flinching at his callous description of the recent great lust of my life, and also for passing over the obvious fact that one might make the same observation of Uncle Laugh and Bambi. I do know your Aunt Zoe, however, Laugh went on. She was never the queen of the night as she liked to portray herself. Far from it. That was clever salesmanship, a program of propaganda conceived and tailored for Zoe, the most famous dancer of her day, by the cleverest salesman of our century. She and this benefactor spent decades trying to get the manuscript from Pandora, the one who actually collected it. Perhaps by now you have guessed that Zoe's own mentor, my best friend and closest confidant for 25 years, was none other than Adolf Hitler. Laugh paused and looked at me. My heart was well below my stomach by now, and I felt I must get out of the steamy heat of the pool before I blacked out. Laugh's next words seemed to echo across the water. There is no way on earth that either Zoe or Wolfgang Hauser could have a copy of that manuscript. Anything belonging to Ernest, he guarded all his life. Then, after a pause, he whispered, Gavarashi, I pray you have not trusted Hauser with it, or even left him alone with it in the same room. If you have, you've surely endangered everything Pandora and Ernest risked their lives for, what indeed may have cost them their lives, and your cousin Sam's too. Woo, okay, well, that's a lot. Time-wise, it's not a lot, but there's a natural stop here. And if I cheat and look ahead, we're going back to AD 33. So we are going back to the time of Christ in our next video. This has all been very interesting. Hope you're enjoying it, and I hope you have a wonderful day. See you next time.